to another episode of the Chicks on the Right podcast. We are delighted today to have with us Tim Burchett, representative from Tennessee's 2nd Congressional District. Prior to that, he was a mayor of a Tennessee town. And today, Mr. Burchett, you're getting a whole lot of popularity for your Carhartt wearing, dadgum dropping, unfiltered, sort of straight talking Tennessee swagger. And by the way, we have a 4 dadgum minimum on this program.
Mm-hmm. You're gonna have.
I'll try to hold you to that.
Okay,
throw that in.
We've got a lot of stuff that we want to ask you about, and I'm sure you've got stuff that you want to talk about. One of the things that we see from you on social media a lot is your frustration, which we get, of just the bureaucracy and the red tape and the inefficiency of government, which makes us want to ask you, because you're so close to it, the things that DOJ uncovered and is trying to get fixed. Like, do we as regular plebes have any hope of feeling some improvement?
I think we do, but the problem you got is that every time we find a way to save it, somebody finds a way to spend it. I remember when I was in the state legislature in Tennessee, I sat next to a Democrat buddy of mine, and he and I had a bill and it saved $5 million. That was huge. And I remembered, he says, "Man, that's a great bill." And he said, this really, and it really was a savings of $5 million. And he goes, "I know just where I want to spend that."
Oh my gosh.
And that's government. That's both parties. We're talking about saving billions of dollars. Man, we run up $1 trillion every 100 days in debt. In 7 years outside the military, which is a disaster in its own spending, the war pimps over there. The largest single item will be interest. I mean, we might as well. In Knoxville, Tennessee, I might as well just drive down Kingston Pike in my daughter's dually pickup and just shovel $100 bills out the back of the dadgum thing. And that's kind of where we're at. And we gotta start doing better. I mean, Republicans, these so-called fiscal giants, they go home, they go to their Lincoln Day, and now they're MAGA Day or Reagan Day or whatever you want to call it. And I go to these dadgum things. I go to them all over the state of Tennessee, and there's Matt Gates calling me. Let me tell you. Hang on.
We said hey.
Hey, Matt. Hey, I'm on Chicks on the Right podcast right now, and they're and hang on, and they said tell you hello. I got you on speaker. Say hello, Matt.
Oh man, so you thought you were signing up for the View?
Yeah, I thought I was on the View, and I didn't get 6 windbags out here yelling at me.
Oh my gosh.
I got people that agree with me. Hey, I need to call you back, brother. I'm sorry. Can I call you back?
See you, buddy.
I love you, buddy. Love Ginger. Bye.
Oh my
Anyway,
God, that was awesome.
This is my favorite interview of all time.
This is the best interview ever in 16
I was in
years.
a kind of an exclusive area of Tennessee over in Middle Tennessee this past week, talking to a group of ladies, and dadgum Luna calls me. And I was like, "Luna." And she always says, "What's up, Burchett?" And then I had her, because I'm old, and I've got these crazy hearing aids in. I got, as I call them, on the Bluetooth. And it's like I'm on, on some drug or something. And so I said, I keep looking at myself because I'm so captivating. I think, gosh, that guy's really good looking. And I realize it's me. And Luna's talking to me. I said, "Wait a minute, say that again, Luna." And I put her on the speaker, and she goes, "What's up, Burchett?" And that's because she always does her cameos in my videos, walking up the steps. But anyway, what the heck was I talking about? I don't even know.
You were talking about DOJ. Have you
Doge? Oh, yeah.
Have you met Elon? Have you met Elon to talk to him? Is he a nice guy?
Elon's the guy. I mean, I dig what he's doing, but we just don't have the guts to do it, ma'am.
Right.
When are we going to start putting this into law? Even the good old boys back in Tennessee say, "Hey, Tim, when are y'all going to start codifying that stuff?" And, and they're right. We got to start. And I get it. Leadership wants to put it in one beautiful big bill, and all that. But you know what else is in that one beautiful big bill? What scares people, is things that maybe shouldn't be. So anyway, I don't want to get into all that. But I think we need to push that. We go home. That's what I was going to say. I know where I got that. And then Matt called me, so rudely interrupted me. No, we go home. We preach the gospel, all the red meat, and then we come back up here and we sell y'all down the road.
Right.
And
it's a hot tub. It's a hot tub there.
And it's a trade-off. It is crooked. We are crooked as a dog's leg. All right. We'll pass a tough bill, and then the Senate will pass a tougher bill. But guess what? They don't line up, And they both, oh, the Senate, oh, that terrible House and that House, oh, that terrible Senate. And then leadership, they go off and drink wine at Kenny Bunkport or something. I don't know. But that's the way it works. They're selling us down the river. America needs to wake up. This is not a swamp. I hate it when people say this is a swamp, because the reality is a swamp is something God created, and it's actually pretty cool. Swamp is an ecosystem. Animals thrive there. It actually filters water, the cattails. They pull out heavy metals. I mean, it's a cool thing. And this is a sewer. This is God created a swamp. Man created a sewer. And the reason sewers stink is something called, getting a little science here. I don't think I'm educated, but you get the sulfur smell from sewers because of what's called anaerobic decomposition. And that means there's no oxygen and there's no sunlight. And that's what the bacteria forms in that. And that's what Washington, D.C. is. There is no sunlight up here. There is no oxygen because you've got a few people in control. And dadgummit, when people see this, I know it's going to happen. Leadership's going to come see me on the House floor. They did this a while back. And they said, Tim, man, you can't keep saying that stuff. I said, you mean that we're crooked and that, to move up in the party system, you have to raise money. It has nothing really to do with your ability. And that people, we won't defund a lot of these things because people's wives and or girlfriends, maybe both of them, work on some of these agencies and both parties do it. I said, you mean that? And he goes, yeah. And he said, I said, well, it's the truth though, right? And he goes, well, yeah, it's the truth. You just got to quit saying it. And that's what we're up against. And America needs to wake the heck up and start.
Okay, but we're awake. So what are we supposed to do about it? You're the one that's there.
Like, how do we make that happen from here?
Bust our ass, hold us accountable on every dadgum vote and say, why'd you vote for that? Why is that way? Why are you doing that? And something else we need to do, honestly, we need to eliminate individual stock trades. We need to own a mutual fund. My buddy Tommy Seiler in Knoxville manages my $11,000 portfolio. It's, mutual fund. My wife looked when that what's that whales thing called? The unusual whales. I'm looking over here. He don't know anything. I know what. What am I paying you for, dude? Anyway, my press guy, he's new. He doesn't know how to get me just yet. Don't dust off your resume.
He just quit. He just quit, Tim.
Nah,
he's done. He's gone.
The best gig on campus. Everybody knows that. But, and they print out these things and just show the top 100. And my wife always looks at it and goes, honey, we need to get a new stockbroker. We got to get you at least in the top 100 of stock traders in Congress.
You got to start following Nancy Pelosi, like a lot of us plebes out here.
She's not even number one. I mean, yeah, it's pretty bad when she's making 200 and 300% return. I mean, that's
a little bit.
Let me tell you how it works. All right, y'all know I didn't vote for a 1 red cent for Ukraine. I think when Zelensky said, he doesn't know we're at least $100 million of our 100 billion of our 250 billion that we've sent over there. I hadn't voted for a penny of it. But when that deal went down and Joe Biden gave them our missile defense system, well, we had to replenish ours, which we should. We can't be left naked. We can't air cover. We got to have it. So what ends up happening is that, lo and behold, we have to, it's a no-bid contract for our missile defense companies, and that we had a multi-billion-dollar. And guess who owns stock in that? Members of Congress. And some of them actually bought that stock weeks prior. So there's no reason to trust us, either party, on those kind of issues. You need to force those issues. And another thing you ought to do, dadgummit, is single-issue spending bills. Single-issue spending bills.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. We've been waiting for that.
We're going to vote. This is for feeding starving children, and like $2 in there for feeding, and $1 billion in for some NGO somewhere.
Right.
I mean, do you honestly think we're spending $10 million on circumcisions in Madagascar? I mean, obviously they're probably voluntary, but still, $10 million, it ain't getting there. And
of course not.
And Elon Musk even said, and I called him Mr. Musk, and he said, call me Elon. He said, Tim, it's, there's a there's a circuitous route, and it goes right back to Congress. And I agree with him. And nothing's going to change.
So
nothing's
frustrating.
Going to change until one of these cats is let out of here in handcuffs. And I don't care which party it's in. If it's in our party, I say bust them right now.
Well, we hope
That's
somebody's going to make that happen. That would be great if we could see that. What do you think about the tariffs? What is your stance on the Trump tariffs?
I think Trump went. Let's look at China first. Trump went with China first, and he went big. He went bold. And the reason Trump did that is for why? And members of Congress are already filing bills, Republicans and Democrats, to take that control back from Trump. And the reason he did that is because the reason we're in such a bind with China, because Congress sold us out. They sold us out with the lobbyists. There's no reason in the world the Chinese, get this, they own property around our military installations. Right?
Yep.
We've allowed them to buy farmland.
Yep,
so
around where I live.
We got commodity. That's bad news. And this is the one that I find most egregious that nobody's really paying attention to. They own some of the commissaries in our military installations.
Oh my God! What?
Gosh.
What's that do? Does that? I mean, they're gonna know we bought a stick of gum? No. You run that credit card, they're gonna know. Oh, it's a lieutenant colonel. He flies a F whatever, and they're gonna know our troop movements. They're gonna know our military installations where they are. And this is the kind of, and they're in our learning institutions. They're in our research institutions, and they'll tell you, oh no, they're not in the classified stuff. They're in the stuff over here. And hey, dude, can you grab me a Mountain Dew? Yeah. I'm losing my train of thought.
You gotta have that. You gotta do the do. You gotta do the do.
Don't tell my wife either.
We won't. Your secret's safe with
anyway,
that.
Nobody watches this show. You're
Nobody
fine.
does. It's fine.
No,
2 people watch it.
Stuff when he's not in here.
Right.
There we go. Funny thing, when I was mayor of Knox County, my old chief of staff, who was my press guy, and he was the chief of staff up here, but he'd always have a saying. He said, I've never had to tell anybody what Tim Burchett really meant to say was, but that government, I'm going to tell you. So anyway, we are crooked. Let's just be honest. But let's make us pass those dadgum bills. Have a bill that says no stock trading. I know my buddy Chip Roy has one that's more bipartisan. He's an attorney. I'm sure it's a lot more pages. Mine is usually about half a page with one sentence.
Which is the way it should be.
Right.
That's the way I roll. So,
right.
Anyway, did you find me one? Dude.
Oh, thank you for that,
I'm gonna
dude.
dance at your next wedding.
That's gonna make all the difference. Absolutely.
So, okay, this big beautiful bill. There was I saw a clip of Mike Johnson saying that it's not going to be on Trump's desk until July. What are you guys doing?
Labor Day. I don't know. It's crazy. Oh, what just ran by me? A glacier. I mean, this place is so freaking slow. I've been wanting to do that for a long time. I've been kind of working on it. It just worked right in. Listen,
that was
girls,
debuted on our show. I feel
ladies,
really cool.
Thank you. You saw it here live.
Right.
But the system, let's talk a little bit more about the system. All right. Mike Johnson's he's got the world stacked up against him. First of all, he's an honest guy. And somebody said, what's the difference in him? I said, he's honest and he doesn't cheat on his wife. And somebody said, that's a pretty low bar. And I said, well, hell, you ain't been in Washington very long.
Right.
Gosh.
I think it's a great bar, and he's accountable, and he's a Christian, and I get all that. And I mean, but Jesus didn't ask him to leave the temple. Dadgum, he threw him out. So, and Mike realizes that too. Speaker Johnson, I should say. I don't call him Mike. That almost sounds disrespectful. I knew him before he was speaker, actually.
I called you Tim. I'm sorry. That was probably
I want you to call me Tim. Congressman, some 85-year-old guy that ain't heard the gun go off that's on a walker up here. He's got a staff. But staff, that's what I want to talk to you about. This is how stuff happens. I look at committees. I mean, we're the party of limited growth, limited government, big growth, limited government.
Mm-hmm.
I look back at one of our committees. We were doing a photo. You do this committee photo, and I don't know why. It's not like I'm going to hang the dadgum thing up on my wall. I don't get it, but they do. They're big on pictures, documenting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you got a 17-year-old daughter, I got pictures of everything.
Yes, totally.
Horses, everything, cats, dogs.
We want to hear about your donkeys. Yeah, at some point
we'll
we're going to
talk about them in a minute. But anyway, So I look back and I start counting the members. Start counting the staff members. I mean, we had close to 50 dadgum staff members, 50, and the Democrats had just as many. So, and then you figure, you don't have to have a crooked congressman or senator. You just need a couple staff members that control a bill. And how many times have I heard a chairman say, you'll read about this in my book, but how many times have I heard a chairman say, I couldn't do that, Tim. Staff just wouldn't allow it. Who elected the dadgum staff?
Right.
And that is where the problem lies. Your staff members, you've got some members, not all of them. The vast majority of them are super patriotic young people. You got some that have been around for a while, and they're the ones you see in the movies, where they're, it's not the president meeting with the lobbyist or whatever having the martini. It's the staff member.
Yeah, it's the wag the dog.
And then they
stuff.
go on the coattails and they go on the trips, and they get compromised. And let me tell you how compromising works. It's pretty easy. There's a couple of different methods. There's one, the old Russian trick called the honey pots. You're in a town somewhere, maybe overseas, and they know what you're into, and maybe some attractive.
Eric Swalwell.
Do what?
I said Eric Swalwell.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's old school. Come on. Hey, let Jesse rob this train. All right. Let me get to this. You're from Tennessee, right? You're a Tennessee girl.
I am. I went to University of Tennessee in Knoxville. I did. Yes.
Rock on. Did you know my dad?
You talk about Kingston Pike.
My dad was deep. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I said you talk about Kingston Pike, and I'm like, I know exactly what he's talking about. I have been there,
right.
driven on that road.
Strip. What was the big honky tonk on the strip when you were there?
Well, we used to go to the Lap and the library, and the library was a really great bar that you could call home, and your parents would be like, "What'd you do tonight?" You could say, "I went to the library," and then it wasn't a lie.
Stop. One of my oldest friend in the world, Scott Davis, owned the library.
Are you serious? Oh my gosh!
One of those. He's one of my.
Well, tell him that I made a lot of great memories in that place because, yeah, great.
You probably
place.
lost some memories there too.
Exactly.
In the Lap, of course, everybody's been to the world famous Lap. The guy that owned the Lap was a friend of mine, an older guy, and he now owns a restaurant down there on Emory Road near my house.
It's changed a lot. Knoxville's changed a lot lot past 25 years. Yeah.
Cumberland Avenue's gone, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, we'll get into that later. Anyway, but I digress. Staff. So you get the honey pots. You get some good-looking girl walks up and is laughing at your jokes, and you buy her a drink. And next thing you know, you're in your motel room with her naked, and then they got a picture of you, and they own your ass.
Right. And, oh my God! How often is that happening?
Well, I don't know. The Russians, they did so much with the Russians, they called it honey pots.
Yeah.
But anyway, let me finish here. So I don't know how much that happens now, but I will tell you this. I was on a podcast called The Benny Show.
Yeah.
And, and Benny's kind of a buddy of mine. He laughs at all my jokes and gets tickled and says nice things about me. But he and I talked about that, and people, oh my gosh, when I told that story, people in Congress just went ballistic. I can't believe you said that, Burchett. Okay, well, dude, if you're not messing around on your wife or your girlfriend, you don't have to worry about it.
Exactly.
They come to you and you're getting ready to make a key vote, and then somebody whispers in your ear, "Hey man, how you gonna vote on this?" I'm for this thing. Man, I really wish you're against this. And they said, "No, I can't do that." And then you just say, "Hey, were you in a motel room with a girl in Taiwan or something?" And they go, "Oh my gosh. Oh man, I don't want that out." And then they say, "Oh, it won't get out, dude. Just help us with this vote." "Oh yeah, whatever you want." Then they don't want to own you. They just rent you. And the other way they do that, and what happened was, I was on the Benny Show and I talked about that. I got blistered by members of Congress. Said, "I can't believe you said that." And again, I said, if you're not doing it, don't worry about it. Well, that week, a prostitution ring was busted in Washington, D.C. And guess who they were? Chinese.
Oh, my gosh.
And they released it in the press. There was a big splash one day, and it said there were three groups of people. There were influential Washingtonians, government contractors, and elected officials. The next week, where's the black book? Everybody wants the black book. Next week, the story disappeared.
What? So, how?
Yeah. Well, anyway, you get powerful people. The checkbook comes out, and and they own your ass.
It's so shady.
Exactly
It is a
the other way
sewer.
they do it is jobs. You don't think some multi-billion-dollar corporation could not give some influential person's wife, daughter, son, whatever, a consulting job, a no-show consulting job, and that's why the Democrats fought me last week on the NGOs, the non-government organization, where I was trying to defund the Taliban. They wanted to take the NGO portion out, and we're giving the Taliban $40 million a week. We can talk about that later in the show. And I've been working on that over a year to get that out, and I'm just embarrassing people is all I'm doing now. And I want you to know I'm not suicidal. So if y'all find me tomorrow with 14 holes in the back of my head, I did not commit myself.
We know you are not. We absolutely know that.
I have to ask, is there any hope? Like, because everything you're saying seems so doom and gloom. What do regular Americans do with this information?
Besides drink.
Well,
right. Like, how are we supposed to react to this?
Right.
You pray, ask God to save our country. Because, I mean, literally, it's almost demonic. I think that I got people protesting me in Knoxville, Tennessee, that want funding for all, transgender shows and things like that. When people are going without food and up in upper North Carolina still don't have electricity, I think they're getting it hooked up now that Trump got in office. Mm-hmm. But after Hurricane Helene, we lose track of things too, ma'am. It's so moving so fast. Doge, the government, President Trump puts these executive orders in, and I have a saying that Americans want their pizzas in 30 minutes or less.
Yep.
That's about our dadgum attention span.
Yeah,
and
that's how
I'm guilty of that. We just move on to the next train wreck. Oh, there's a shiny object over there. When I was mayor of Knox County, I used to say, there's going to be another wreck on the interstate tomorrow, guys. And what that meant was, we're going to catch some heat today, but tomorrow we're going to, there'll be something else.
So true.
I don't want another wreck or anything, but that is our attention span, and that's where we are as Americans. We've got to stay focused. We've got to, this Doge stuff, these cuts, electing honorable people, it's got to happen. It's got to happen in both parties. The Democrats have been hijacked. I mean, it's almost a demonic force, in my opinion, and some of the things that they're, castrating little boys.
Right.
Going down
boys and girls.
A suspected gang member who's actually was in trouble for beating his wife. I mean, she's claiming now it didn't happen, but there's some pretty damning court evidence. And in our own state of Tennessee, he was caught in a van or a vehicle hauling people that were obviously non-Americans with an invalid driver's license.
Unbelievable.
And the FBI apparently was told the Tennessee Highway Patrol, and I know the Tennessee Highway Patrol. I was a state legislator for 16 years and worked closely with them and legislation, and they're honorable men and women, very patriotic, very straight-laced kind of folks. And I can guarantee that be a real morale killer when you had somebody you knew was illegal, you knew was trafficking people, and they weren't allowed to follow the law.
Unbelievable.
So you're not going to El Salvador with some of your Democrat colleagues?
Well, actually, I'm on the El Salvador caucus, and the president down there sent me a message. Matt Gaetz put me on that caucus. It was weird because I like their no crime stuff. Apparently, it's like their crime's down 90-something% under this guy. I mean, if you're a gang member, if you got it written on a tattoo, they believe you really are, and they will lock you up.
Yeah.
There's no nonsense down there. It's not America. I get it. And but
it's worked. What he's done has worked.
It's so far gone. I mean,
right.
It's like Memphis, Tennessee, ma'am. They've had a bunch of shootings there in the last couple of weeks, and it's just a wild town. And the sad thing is, a lot of people have left, and then a lot of good people are stuck there because they're not financially able to leave, and they're just at the mercy of these gangs and stuff. And we've got to start addressing that. But
so do you? Is there a Democrat or several Democrats in Congress that you like, or are they all pretty much
I love
liberal weirdos? Really?
I'm in a bipartisan prayer group with Jesse Jackson's son, Jonathan. I always send him videos of my donkeys, and he gets a big kick out of it. I'm going to take him out in the field one time. I'm going to get him to Knoxville. I'm going to give him, hey, put those peppermints in your pocket. And walk out there, and donkeys, and freaking out because it'll freak you out if you don't know what to do.
We love the donkey videos.
Quasi Mafuni, that's a name. I think he used to head up the NAACP. I'm working with him on some stuff on Africa. I'm worried about the Chinese communists taking over Africa, and God puts this stuff on my heart. It's not going to help me politically. Ain't nobody going to vote for me because of this stuff. But we have programs that they're getting robbed from, and they're not doing what they're supposed to do. In those areas of Africa, let's just talk monetarily. They have rare earth minerals, There's resources to be developed there, and the Chinese are going in through the Belt and Road Initiative, and what they do is they go in and say, oh, we'll build you a dam, we'll build you an electric plant, and they claim it at half price or whatever, and then they triple the price while you're there. They bankrupt them, and they say, oh, what are we going to do? Throw up hands. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll come in and take it over, but we got to control it. And then that's the way they do it, and they're uneducated people, and they just take advantage of them. What I would like to do is there's areas of the desert there, and there's a process of reclaiming the desert. Actually, it's not overnight, but in 5-10 years you see a change, and allows them to stay there and maybe develop agriculture and develop things. I mean, they're not going to be rocket scientists overnight, but they're migratory mainly because of wars and communism, and and the environment is they've destroyed what was once some fairly lush areas and turned them into deserts, and we can reclaim those areas. And that's I don't know. I'm going to work with some of the folks over there in the Black Caucus on that. AOC's a friend. I don't agree with her on anything.
Yeah.
Except for the stock stuff, right? Because she's a proponent.
Yeah, she's on that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she's big on that. She sees that in her own party as well as ours. And I don't. Only enemies I really have up here are in my own party.
That's so interesting. Yeah.
And that's because I helped depose the former speaker.
You do podcasts like this. That's why they don't like it.
Yeah, they don't.
Right.
They always say, "Oh, Burchett, you're hogging the camera and all that." And I'm like, well, "Dude, you won't even go on the camera." They don't.
No.
They don't do the. They all knock me at first because of my Twitter things when I walk off the dadgum House floor, ticked off of some terrible piece of legislation we just passed, and they're claiming, they're all going to Stockholm for the Nobel Peace Prize. Heck, I don't know what that dadgum Peace Prize is, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And they talk about this piece of legislation. It's really bogus, and so I bust it when I come off the Senate House floor and bust the senators or what have you. And they all knocked me my first couple of years for doing that. And guess what? Now they all have Twitter teams or X teams.
Isn't that interesting?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's very
Well,
interesting.
we definitely want to know more about the donkeys. Me in particular, because you have one named Daisy,
Yeah.
but you do not have one named Mock. So
You gotta get on
when
that.
are you gonna balance that out?
Well, I didn't get to name them, ma'am. Let me tell you what happens.
Here we go.
I love my wife and daughter more than anything, right? So I get this call one day, and we're on speaker.
FaceTime.
FaceTime.
Yeah.
I don't know why I couldn't think of that. FaceTime, and that's never a good sign. That's always the horse trailer's in a ditch, or I've just met this really nice state trooper that knows you kind of thing, And my daughter's 17, so she's driving, so I'm just like, something's up.
Right. Yeah.
And they're in the back of my buddy's pickup truck, in the back seat, not in the very back. And I was like, where the heck are y'all? She goes, honey, do you know such and such a lady? And that's always a trap. And I really didn't even know who she was. And I said, honey, I don't know her. And she said, well, she says she knows you. And I said, well, that's cool. And she said, she's got three donkeys, excuse me, 3 miniature donkeys.
Oh, miniature.
And one of them, she passed away, and that was really sad. That made me sad because I get a little sweet person. She was really old, though. Wasn't in good shape. And but anyway, so I said, yeah. I said, well, what's she doing with those donkeys? And she said, well, she's giving them to us. What do you think? I'm thinking, what am I thinking? You're already going to get them. I know how you women operate. That was a no-win situation.
Isn't that true? Yeah, we do.
You like better, honey, a Ford or a Chevy? I can see a car salesman in the background.
That's right.
Anyway,
so
I said, all right, honey. And we got 60 acres. My daughter's a barrel racer. She won a world championship.
She is a barrel racer? That's so cool.
Awesome.
Oh,
She's
my
awesome.
gosh.
Yeah, a cool picture of her right here.
I'd love to see that. What a badass she is.
Yeah.
That's
that is
amazing.
awesome.
Oh, my gosh.
That's Isabel,
17.
and that's her sweet horse, Peggy Sue, right there. That was her first horse.
That is so neat. What a
Peggy
cool
Sue.
thing.
Peggy Sue's kind of I found a little note from Isabel. Here's food, bro. Love you, Isabel.
Is that your
favorite
daughter?
She says. She's
That's
my
your
only
daughter?
daughter. Anyway.
They call you bro. Why do they call us all bro? My daughter calls me bro. She's 15.
I know.
Like,
She's
what
like,
is
hey,
that?
bro, what's up? And
Bro. Says
I
that
couldn't
thing.
do something one time. She goes, hey, boomer. And I was like, and then another time she said, Dad, those shoes make you look like an old white man. I said, ding, ding, ding. Guess what, honey?
Hello.
Your dad is an old white man.
Hello.
So, anyway.
What are you about to go vote on?
So these dadgum donkeys, I come home on a Thursday, and we're in front of the big field, and Isabel's got them all, like, it's Daisy, Rose, and Lily. And Rose is the one that passed away. She was the mama.
Yeah.
God rest her sweet soul. She was beautiful. I loved her. But anyway, she had them all on the fence row, and like in very feminine color harnesses or whatever. And I said, "What the heck are y'all doing?" And she said, "Isabel shampooing them, baby. They're living the best life. They're living their best life." And I was like, "Whatever." And
Oh my gosh.
And so, how much did that cost? She said, nothing. I was like, great deal. I love it. So anyway, and then after she shampoos them all and brushes them all, what do you think they do? They go roll in the dirt.
Of
They're
course they
donkeys,
do.
even though they're miniature donkeys. So I get, anyway, and honestly, I just love those dadgum things. They escape. They knock
They're
fences
so
over.
sweet.
Kelly called me last week. Where was I? I don't know. I was somewhere. I was out of town. And she said, she texted me and said, I was feeding the horse. I was bringing the horses in. The donkey's busted out. I'm tired. I'm over it. So I'm thinking, I call Isabel. I said, Isabel, where are you? She said, I'm in the house. She said, go help Mom. The donkeys are out. Okay. So she goes out there. And then that night, I get home maybe the next night or that, I don't know when. Anyway, so me and Kelly are talking. And she said, did you put the donkeys up? She says to me, I said, I didn't put the donkeys up. I told Isabel to. And she goes, did she? And so I text Isabel. She's out with her boyfriend. So I said, well, anyway, and we were getting ready to eat a pizza. It was warmed up in Big Ed's. And Kelly said, I need a doctor. She said, where's the Dr. Pepper? I said, I don't know. I guess we're out. She goes, I think there's some in the barn. I said, I got that hint. So I go up, walk up to the barn, and got us a couple of Dr. Peppers. And I did the gentlemanly thing, and there were two. So I brought them home, and I drank water. And so Kelly could have another Dr. Pepper later or the next day.
That's so
nice. I'm a giver.
You are. That is nice.
Anyway, so
nice.
I'm up in the barn, and I'm just kind of walking through. I'm going, our cat just had kittens. It's like a 6-toed cat. It's the craziest thing. It's like a cat mitt. And Isabel calls it Toes 2.0. So we had another Toes, but we think a coyote ate him. I'm not sure.
Oh, no.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so Toes has a bunch of cats, like we need more kittens, like I need a hole in the head.
Uh-huh.
So I hear this noise. I'm checking on the cats, and I look over in the feed room, and who's in there? Daisy and Lily in the dadgum feed room. And they've been on the run for, 48 hours. And they
found their way back.
Anyway, so, and I was like,
it.
I said, what are y'all doing in there? And they're like, what? We're not doing anything.
It's like, what, us?
And I said, yeah. And I get them out of there, and I put them in a stall because it's too late. I was afraid if I tried to get them out, they might run, and I couldn't get them at night. So anyway, I love them dadgum donkeys. They're like therapy. The little feet, they just run. And
donkeys
what's
are awesome.
That crazy cartoon where there's Shrek or something. Shrek, what is it? Shrek.
Oh, yeah, Shrek with the donkey.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy plays the donkey. Yeah.
Yeah, I never really watched the movie until I got Isabel, and then I watched all that crazy stuff.
And you're like, it's the same thing. You're living that life. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and they're so smart, and
they are.
They eat everything on the hedgerows, and all I gotta do is feed them water. But what do you think we do? You got this fancy mash that we give to the horses. It's probably for thoroughbreds or something. But anyway, my wife, she really takes care of them, and my daughter, they take care of those dadgum horses. And every time she goes, I made a little mash up for the donkeys. I'm like, honey, they're freaking bottom feeders, and they are eating their best life. I'm feeding them peppermints. Kelly's feeding them mash. Every one of our fence rows is probably grown up with briars because the dadgum donkeys don't eat them anymore. They don't have to.
They have that. Exactly.
Anyway.
Why would they eat that?
Those donkeys are great. I got so many videos of those crazy things. I'm gonna start putting them out. They're really
You gotta
popular.
keep them coming. Yeah, we
People
love those. We
They
do.
love
We love them. We
So
absolutely do.
we heard earlier that you have a vote to get to. What are you guys voting on this afternoon? Do you know?
Here it's a vital national interest, like a post office or something. What are you voting on?
Something important. Something really important.
I've been in committee all day, so they come in and brief me on the bills, and we decide. Here lately I've been voting against a lot of even Republican bills because they're reporting bills. And here's something else that happens with the sewer of Washington, D.C. Somebody like myself is well-intentioned, and you think, gosh, I got to pass a bill, show back home what I'm doing. And you get the bill up there, and staff has a problem with it. They say, well, and what's happened is a lobbyist has got somebody's ear usually.
Yep.
And say, well, I tell you what we'll do. We need to pass this, but let's make it into a reporting bill. So we'll do the research and report back to Congress. And so then you can really attack it. No. You report it, it becomes a reporting bill. And y'all ever seen that movie, Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Of
Yeah.
course.
At the end where they're the Ark of the Covenant, they're putting it, our top men. We're
Yeah.
right on
Yes.
top of them. They put it in this crazy warehouse. That's where all our reports are right now.
In a
They're just
warehouse
a
somewhere.
warehouse full of congressional reports.
Yeah.
It's,
I'm surprised it's not in a cave. Usually they're in caves.
2 procedural votes, 1 about tickets for entertainment. And and I don't get too
What?
upset. Yeah, I don't always get upset about these bills because that is what democracy is about. If somebody has an issue in your district and you're bringing it up, and, that's even though it ticks me off, but somebody is concerned. They need
Tickets for entertainment. Okay, so
I'm
like
not sure. I'm going to read the bill. It's
so
generally
Taylor Swift won't cost $1,000 a ticket or something like that. Is that
right.
that must be what it is.
I wouldn't step out of the electric chair to watch any of those
Right.
clowns.
I'm right there with you.
Not that she's a clown, but I don't go the Swifties on me.
I
But,
know, right? Yeah.
Well, since you're such a straight shooter, I have a question that I want an honest answer to. You've been there since 2019. So you've been there long enough to know where the bathrooms are and to figure out where you are in the building at any given time. So how much of your time is spent on actual work versus how much time you have to spend on getting yourself reelected?
It's about what you want to do with it. If you do enough legislating and taking care of people is that votes?
Yeah.
Okay, that's votes.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I know we're already up to 1:30. This has been fun. Can we do this again? sometime?
We totally
we would
can.
love
Absolutely.
to have you back.
Yes.
Known about y'all forever, but it just depends. Some guys spend half and half doing it. They got $1 million war chests, and the problem I have is I don't have a lot of billionaires and millionaires that support me. It's just working people, and it's very tough on me to be able to do that because my folks can't.
Right.
I can't afford. And the part of the scam up here is you have to raise so much money to move up in power and to become a chairman. I mean,
Which is a scam. That's a total
legal,
scam.
and it's all legal, and the press is in on it, and everybody's in on it.
It's such bullcrap.
And so, to me, that's crooked. And
it is.
We've had literally people that have written checks to become chairman.
Oh my
literally
gosh.
written a check.
I believe
Wow.
it.
They're
I believe it.
individually, they're wealthy, and I'm not, and I'm not up here. And honestly, the good old boys and good old girls are the ones that keep me in Congress, and that's because I can't never. They always outspend me, but dadgum, they never outwork me.
Yeah.
And they've flown people up, try to run against me in the primary. Leadership has in the past, and they claim they did, but then they come tell me that they're up there trying to get them to run against me, and the people have told me that. So it's just. Hang on, I'm getting the what?
You guys,
Yes, we know.
We're gonna wrap it up.
Ladies,
we
thank
totally
y'all.
respect your
Please,
time.
I'm
Thank
so
you.
sorry. I talk too much about crazy stuff. But
We love it. We
Listen,
love it.
let's save our country. Pray for our country.
We'll do it.
Here's the deal. Here's the deal. I'm going to leave you with this. This is where America is. We're a farmer up on a dadgum roof, right? Tin roof. And he's got his bib overalls on. You can Google that if you don't know what that is.
Oh,
and
I
he's
do.
falling off that roof. He says, dadgummit, Lord, save me. Save me, Lord. He's falling back. And a nail catches the strap on his bib overalls. And he says, never mind, Lord, I got it. Well, God put that nail up there, okay?
Right.
And we got to quit slapping God's hand away. He has given us a chance. He has given us a chance. You know, people don't like Trump. I love him. I don't want him teaching my daughter's Sunday school class.
Yes.
But I like him in the White House.
Yes.
And,
You bet.
he's a friend of mine. I mean, you know, a friend. I mean, he calls, you know, hey, Tim, you know, so I dig that. But
Well,
anyway.
we loved having you. You can come back anytime.
Yes.